Hi, recently I've heard that dividing is less efficient than multiplying. Like, you have a bunch of moving objects, they move at a given speed, and you want to slow them down. So you, instead of dividing the speed variable by 2, you multiply it by 0.5 to get the same result, but in a more efficient way. Let's have a look on this topic and decide if it's a big deal. To test these things, Stats tab may be useful, but the real thing that you should use is the profiler, which you can find under Window, Analysis, Profiler. And to have a nicer view of it, you need to set its type to hierarchy. Now I've prepared a simple update function, which divides 3 variables 10 million times per frame. We're gonna run a test with this method and then switch to this one. And in addition, we're gonna do the same but with the vector 3 out of those variables and test it again. I also disabled all of the other game objects to have a clear view on update function of this script. Now I'm gonna hit run and wait for some data. Okay, I think that's enough. I can click on this graph. This method needs around 65 milliseconds for one frame. If you want to check out what's going on exactly, you should click on this tab to sort it by total time and expand player loop. Now that's the part what takes the most of the time. Expand it, and that's our update in the tests class. As you can see, that's the one which takes most of the time here. With this method we got 65, and now we switch to this one and see what happens. Alright, as you can notice, we have a drop over here, and now we need around 54 milliseconds for one frame. Sounds great, now let's change the data type and see if we have the same result. Alright, as you can see, now we need around 200 milliseconds for one frame, instead of 66-65. So something has changed for sure. Okay, let's comment this line out and use this one instead. Okay, we got a performance boost, but it's not a big one. Alright, so depending on how exactly do you use it, you may lose 20% of your performance, but sometimes you lose only 5% of your performance. It's really complicated. I did some research and also ran some tests in JavaScript language, and I can tell you that this performance loss will vary between 0 and 33% or so. So you can't really tell unless you run some tests in your project. In general, this is a tiny performance improvement, so you shouldn't do that, unless you really don't have anything else to do and you use like million or 10 millions of simple operations like this one. Maybe you're working on a game which uses a lot of enemies, and you need to save every millisecond of your render time. But keep in mind that sometimes this is less readable than this method, so first you need to make sure that your game works, not just do every performance improvement that you can think of. Plus, not every number can be converted to such a readable form and give you a precise output. For instance, if you want to divide something by 40, you need to write something like this, and it won't be precise. To show you the scale of this problem, I'm going to write a simple line of code that you often use, and I'm gonna show you what happens next. Alright, so now all we do in this update loop is just getting component of tests. Let's make it do only 1 million times per frame, and let's see the performance now. Alright, now we need around 150 milliseconds per one frame, but the amount of iterations of our for loop is 10 times smaller, so in the previous version of it we need around 1500 milliseconds. Ouch, that's a killer. So those are the things that you should look for while working on performance issues. Have a good day and see you soon!